Welcome to the Cumbria Chamber of Commerce podcast, your weekly update of business news and issues from around Cumbria. Find out how we support new business and help existing businesses to grow and flourish at cumbriachamber.co.uk. Now here's the Chamber's Business Engagement Manager, Julian Whittle, with this week's episode.
Hello, I'm here with Jayne Moorby, Marketing Manager at Oxley Developments in Ulverston, to talk about exporting and specifically how trade missions can help businesses break into new markets and secure orders. Jayne, first of all, tell me about Oxley, what the business does, what your products are and who some of your customers are.
Hello. Oxley is a manufacturer of LED lighting systems and high-specification components, mainly targeted at the aerospace and defence market. We're based here in Ulverston and we offer a full end-to-end design and manufacturing service from our site here. Our customers tend to be the big players in defence and aerospace, people like Boeing, Saab, General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, Airbus, Korea, aerospace industries, customers all over the world.
That's impressive. So I know exports are vital. How did your export journey begin?
Our international development started back in the 1970s. We were working with customers in America, and defence and aerospace customers in America wanted an in-country facility. So we set that up in the 70s, and since then we've continued to grow and grow. We have a really ambitious international growth strategy, and we've got a lot of new markets in our sights right now.
Okay, so how many countries are you exporting to, and what proportion of the total business turnover is accounted for by exports?
So we export to 34 countries at the moment, and that covers all 5 continents, and that accounts for 75% of our turnover. Right.
So what dealings have you had with the Department for International Trade and its predecessor UKTI, and how were they able to help?
We've worked with the DIT for many years, and that includes working with the local team here in the Northwest and with the specialist teams based in London, the aerospace specialist team and the defence specialist team, and also with the in-country teams when we've had really specific opportunities that they've been able to help us with. The kind of things that they've helped us with are entering new markets through providing information specifically on the structure of that market and barriers to entry. They've facilitated a number of high-level introductions for us to key people overseas. We've had the opportunity to meet defence ministers from different countries, for example. We've taken part in a lot of trade missions and overseas exhibitions that have been arranged by the DIT. They've helped us in sourcing and managing our agents and distributor network. In specific cases, like we do some business in Asia, and there they've helped us to source some in-country expertise like legal advice, which is really important when you're setting up quite complex contracts. And all our products here that are for military use are export licensed, and the DIT have also helped us in terms of navigating our way through that export licensing process.
You mentioned agents and distributors there. Is that your preferred method? Rather than selling directly, you operate through an agent?
Many of our products are have a extremely technical capability, so we need in-country support that can provide that technical interface between us and the customer. So whilst we do sell directly to some of the big players, we work with a whole network of agents and distributors across the world. We have over 20 of them, and we select them very carefully, some of which we've had ongoing relationships with for over 25 years. It's a really important decision for us who we partner with, and the DIT have been very helpful in terms of helping us to source the right agent and distributor. And whilst they can't provide direct advice to us on who to use, they can put us in touch with people who might be in the same position or who may have experience of working with certain companies. They also provide good advice on structuring contracts and how to effectively manage agents and distributors as well.
Great. Now, you mentioned trade missions a minute ago. Let's look specifically at those. Tell me about some of the missions you've been on.
So we invest heavily in overseas marketing activity. We go on a lot of trade missions and overseas exhibitions. Recent ones have included South Korea, Japan, Brazil, France, Portugal, and another in the US. And some of these have been exhibitions that are quite general, but others of them have been extremely well-targeted, high-profile missions. For example, we went on a recent mission to Boeing in America, and that was a technology showcase event. And so a business like ours that's working in high technology for aerospace, the opportunity to showcase our products to a range of Boeing engineers is absolutely crucial, and it's really high profile, and it's an opportunity you just can't get on your own.
I'm interested to know how you sort of prepare for going on a trade mission. For example, do you have special literature or promotional material printed in, particularly if it's a non-English speaking country, in the language that's appropriate for it?
So, as a small business, maximising our return on investment is really important. So preparing well for any kind of mission like this is really crucial to make sure that we get the most out of it. So we always look at very carefully at who our audience is going to be, and we tailor the marketing message around that. And we definitely would produce literature and display graphics in the relevant language. And that's particularly important in some markets and not so much in other markets.
I mean, you hear sometimes about the difficulties with cultural issues when British companies are going into markets they might not be familiar with. I mean, I think some Asian cultures expect you to receive a business card with both hands and then inspect it very carefully, because if you give or receive with one hand, it shows a lack of commitment to the business relationship. Have you come across any issues like that? How do you prepare for those?
Yes, we definitely find that's the case, particularly with the business card issue. And in some markets that we work in, such as India, Japan and South Korea, we find that simple things are quite important. For example, gift giving, hierarchical structures and talking to people in meetings in the correct order, or also avoiding direct confrontation is very important in some cultures. We welcome visitors to Oxley from all over the world every week, and it's very important that our team respect those cultural values as well. And the DIT produce guides on the cultural aspects of doing business in different countries. Yeah. And we download those guides and give them to our teams before we welcome customers from different countries.
So I suppose a bit like an etiquette guide, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, another issue is language. How do you overcome language difficulties?
Well, we're very lucky in this country because we very rarely encounter language difficulties because so many people speak English. Yeah. In some markets, it's expected that we'll do business in their language, and where that happens, we tend to work with in-country representatives to provide translation services for us.
When you go on a trade mission, or when you've been on them, have you been able to determine exactly who you were going to meet, and did those meetings go as you anticipated?
Sometimes on the larger missions or the exhibitions, for example, if you go in the UK group at a big overseas exhibition, like we'll be doing for Paris Air Show this year, you have to go well prepared and open-minded, and all sorts of opportunities can come your way at the event. For more smaller structured missions, you can determine in advance exactly the individuals that you're going to meet, and you can then pinpoint those contacts and messages very, very closely.
And what happens afterwards? I mean, how quickly have you been able to turn leads that you've got into orders? So
the defence and aerospace industry works very slowly. It's big, long-term contracts that we're looking for. So it's a long-term investment for us doing this sort of activity. But the important part is, again, maximising that return on investment by doing the follow-up. So all the people that you meet at the event, follow up, build a network with, and in the long term, they will turn into opportunities.
You'll get an invitation to tender or something like that.
Yes.
And have there been any unexpected benefits from trade missions? Because I've heard apocryphal stories of people going on a trade mission and actually ending up doing business with another UK business who happened to be on the same trade mission. Anything like that ever happened?
Yes, that's happened to us as well. We found suppliers, especially when you're looking in very specialist defence and aerospace areas.
Yeah.
We found suppliers. We've also found overseas business partners through overseas events. And most importantly, I think it really raises our profile. Where we can, we do a lot of PR around the fact that we're getting involved in all of this activity. And part of that exposure and raising our profile has real benefits for the business as well.
And have you used the Overseas Market Introduction Service, or OMIS for short, to tap into the huge range of contacts and expertise in UK embassies, consulates and high commissions? Have you found that useful? Yes,
we've used OMIS before, and particularly when we're entering a totally new market that's quite different from the UK, particularly in Asia in our case. And also we've used the embassies and the consulates as well. And this was particularly notable for us in 2017 when we won the KFX contract in South Korea.
Yeah.
We won the contract to do all of the LED lighting on their new fast jet. It was a very complex process winning business in South Korea, and the embassy team were extremely helpful and supportive and helped us to navigate our way through that process.
Now, you mentioned earlier export licenses, and that's because some of your products have military applications, so you need a license to export them. What does that involve, and is the application process, is it straightforward?
It can be straightforward if you're dealing with a country that we have a straightforward agreement with, but it can be more of a complicated process, and it can also be quite lengthy. So it's really important for us as a UK exporter to make sure that process runs as smoothly as possible, and we're able to service our customer in a timely manner. And the DIT have been really supportive in helping that process.
Now, you personally, Jayne, were named as a DIT export champion back in 2016. How did that come about, and what's the significance of the award?
So we were approached by the DIT to get involved in the Northwest Export Champion programme, and that's designed to help other small businesses who are starting off on their export journey gain access to people who are already
been there
on
and done
that
it.
journey.
Yeah.
We've now got a larger group, and we're all Northern Powerhouse Export Champions now, and it's become a really strong peer-to-peer network, and we share information, and between us all we've got such a vast range of knowledge that other people can tap into.
So it's a sort of mentoring role, really, is
Absolutely.
it? Yeah. Finally, what advice would you give to other businesses that are looking to start exporting, or maybe they are exporting in a small way but they want to target new markets?
I would suggest that they just do the research. Speak to the DIT before you enter a new market. Their local knowledge is really invaluable, and the team are so incredibly knowledgeable and helpful. If you need some information, the chances are that somebody at the DIT will already have that information, or will have a route for you to be able to access it. And then just get involved with as many things as you can, because when you start to do that and you start to raise your profile, that's when we found that really opportunities start to come your way.
Thanks, Jayne. That's great. Just a reminder, the Chamber's Cumbria Business Growth Hub can help your business to export. We can put you in touch with advisors from the Department for International Trade and other sources of help, such as Cumbria Chamber's Export Documentation Service and the British Chambers of Commerce's Global Business Network. There's a lot more information online at www.cumbriagrowthhub.org. cumbria.co.uk/business-support/exporting, or call us on 0844 257 8450.
Thank you for listening to the Cumbria Chamber of Commerce podcast. You can find out more about how we're supporting Cumbrian businesses at cumbriachamber.co.uk and cumbriagrowthhub.co.uk. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening, and we'll have another episode for you next week.